EHAS Club presents Stories to Create podcast, where the tale of our guest takes you back, way back to where the story first got created. Now, to help create this new story, here is your host, Cornell Bunting.
Yes, welcome to another episode of the Stories to Create podcast right here at EHAS Club. I'm your host, Cornell Bunting. My co-host today, Ike, in the building. On today's show, our guest studied psychology at Martin Methodist College, BS Psychology at Tennessee State University, General Psychology at Tennessee State University. This is beautiful, people. He has a professional teacher certification from Florida Gulf Coast University, research specialist and co-teacher at Lee County School District. He's an art dealer. When I tell you, people, he got some art now. I've seen his art collection is serious, and he's art dealer at Africa Art Gallery. He's owner, professional training consultant for Behavior Network and Consulting and Training, a former tutor at Basic Learning Skills Learning Center, Inc., a former psychology professor at Keiser University, a former teacher at Collier County Public School District, staffing specialist at Desoto County School District, a teacher at Lee County School District, Edison Community College, and Florida Southwest College. Everyone, please welcome Mr. Lodovic Kimble.
Thank you, my brother.
And I think you might have forgot he has quite a resume in fashion. I was just getting the history of fashion, specifically black fashion, and how I should be dressing.
Oh yeah.
I'm just a
Which
brother.
I'm taking some notes. I'm taking some notes. That's
I'm
good.
just a brother. We have to coordinate.
We got to
Even
coordinate.
notice I'm coordinating with short pants on.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
You are.
I like
It's
that.
a beautiful thing, man. Listen, we're excited. We wanted you on the show today, because we're in Black History Month.
Right.
Man, and I was like, who better to kind of polish that up, make that just look beautiful than my good brother here, Mr. Lodovic. And I see you brought one of your book today. We're going to touch on that a little bit.
Walking in your footsteps.
I like that. So, and you're a legend, man.
Thank you.
You're a living legend. There is so
Thank
much.
God for the rumor.
I like that. I like that. But, I would love for you to take the listeners back, Lodovic. Take us back to the earlier years when a lot of this got your attention and you're like, you know what, I need to take the movement serious, you as the individual you are today. But take us way back, man, back in the teens.
Well, if I talk about my experience having parents who were culturally conscious.
Yes.
We are African Native American, and we always known we were African Native American. We grew up with a Chickasaw grandfather,
Right.
took strong pride
Yeah.
in that, and took strong pride in our African history.
Right.
My parents were not civil rights activists, but they were surely activists.
Okay.
They stood up against social injustice
Oh,
and encouraged us to stand up against social injustice. In fact, my father, because of the discrimination he had the assumption that you could not develop a friendship with the European Americans.
Wow.
He actually didn't understand. When my senior year, I bring a guy home named John Floyd that I had got into a fight with, and we had become friends. In fact, just to go back and tell you, I'm got an outfit on at school for Black History Month that's all green. I got a green knit suit on.
Yeah.
Shirt on. I got some silk and wool pants on.
Yeah.
I got some green shoes with green socks. Senior in high school. So he sees me at school and calls me a leprechaun. And I told him, a leprechaun?
Yeah.
Brother, no leprechaun. You got to be European to be leprechaun. So he's not through.
Now, to set the stage, this is like Cleveland area, late
Nashville,
60s, 70s?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the next day, he takes it to the next level to call me the nigger leprechaun.
What?
And my father has told me from the time I was 12, when I first went to integrated school, you tolerate bull, but if they call you that, I want you to rearrange that face
Ooh.
to make it very clear
Yeah.
you're not going to tolerate it. And what did I do? I rearranged that face. The dean called me in the office because I was an outstanding student who never got in fights.
Right.
And in fact, I was my first challenge to segregation was my senior year in high school.
Wow.
We had a club on campus called the Southern Gentleman. You probably seen on Facebook page me standing out there.
Yes.
Called the Southern Gentleman. And I said to black males, we're going to join, and they're not going to stop us.
Right.
3 of us joined, and when they took the picture, I'm standing on the front row like this in a green silken wool suit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Making my point, the fact that if this organization exists in school, I have a right to be a member.
Yes.
John Floyd, later, some students, I was my high school teacher from the singing group called Together Here's New Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
She knew there were students who had potential for college,
Right.
European American and African students. We didn't have any Latin students in my school.
Yeah.
So she would keep us at school to do tutoring. And to get us more involved, she formed a gospel group called Together Here's New Christianity. We traveled all over the state of Florida, all with 3 African kids in it. So this is her attempt in 1970 and 71 to do diversity, to bring kids of different ethnic backgrounds together.
Yeah.
The kids have a church revival. They called me and asked me to go. I didn't want to go.
Okay.
It's a white church.
Right.
What I need to go there for?
Yeah.
My mama said, look, those kids call you and ask you to go to church with them.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's a white church.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go to church with us.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So I go to church with the kids, and I'm still uncomfortable. I'm sitting in the back where everybody up front. And this guy, John Floyd, the one who picked fight with me, is standing up front testifying.
What?
He says, I'm a bigot. And as a kid at school that I've picked with, my parents did not raise me like that.
Yeah.
That is not the Christian way.
Yeah.
He said, I want to tell the brother I love him. And walks to and the way he's saying this, I'm saying in my mind, you old bigot, you need to repent. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
He comes to the back and holds his arms out like this. I love you, brother. And I look at him like he's crazy. What do you expect me to do?
Yeah.
And then everybody in the room stand up and clap. So I conformed and hug him. And John Floyd and I became friends.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
That
So
was beautiful.
where did that go from there? I mean, are you still friends today? Were you friends?
Well, I haven't
after
seen
that?
him since I've moved here, but we were friends all through high school. I dated an international exchange student from Argentina. The family she stayed with, he became friends with them, Donna Tanner, Dr. Tanner. Since that time, the Tanners are dead, but Donna Tanner and I are still friends today. She's a sociologist, I'm a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
She lives in D.C. We talk all the time. We talk about the families coming together. John Floyd, I've looked for him. I can't find him, but I do remember how we developed a friendship. My dad didn't like him. You know why? He had a peace sign in his head and wore these strange-looking boots, and my dad knew he was smoking reefer.
Yeah.
He had a peace sign on his head, like dyed in his head, or he cut his hair like a...
Had a hat cut out with the peace sign in the top.
Okay.
Wow.
Wore these weird-looking boots and had long hair, so he was a hippie.
Yeah.
It's not typically what you think of when you think of a bigot from the South back in the day,
Well,
right?
he really wasn't a bigot. He was just stupid. He
Yeah.
did something stupid, and he realized it.
Yeah.
And in fact, it became so close that I used to go to his house all the time, and his mother embraced me like a son.
Yeah.
One day I'm at his house, and I'm sitting on the porch, and his grandmother's sitting there saying, who that nigga out there? I got up and walked away.
Yeah.
His mother get in the car. I heard her screaming at her mother for saying that to me. She get in the car and come after me. I said, oh, you crackers just alike. Don't bother me.
Yeah.
I'm walking home. She said, Mr. Kimble, I'm Lodovic.
Yeah.
You know we love you like our own son. Get in the car. I'm going to make my mother apologize to you. She took me back and insisted her mother apologize to me.
It's amazing.
So that opened a whole lot of doors for me about people,
Yeah.
to look at racism in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
It caused me to choose the college I went to.
Right.
I went to Martin College in Pulaski, Tennessee, the time where the Ku Klux Klan began. My
Yeah.
dormitory was 1 block from the building with the plaque on the wall.
What?
Wow.
And while I was there, I was probably one of the most outstanding students on campus.
Mm-hmm.
I was freshman personality in my freshman year. And then I became freshman personality through discrimination.
Yeah.
They had a contest to pick the mascot for the school.
Mm-hmm.
Mascot was the Tennessee Indian. Well, I'm part Native American. Why shouldn't I go out for that?
Yeah.
I went out for that and sang Sitting on the Docker's Bay. And I won this award. I won it.
That's
But they
amazing.
pulled me in the back.
Yeah.
The white girl won. They said, this town is going to be comfortable with you picking her up at basketball games and stuff, Mr.
Yeah.
Campbell.
Yeah.
It's not us who feel that way. We're worried about how the people going to react.
Right.
I says, but what we want to do, as a result of you winning,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to make you a freshman personality.
Oh, I like that.
So they made me, and I understood because I knew where I was at the time.
Right.
So she made me freshman personality. I probably was a drama club, the poetry club. I was a spelunker, did cave exploring, all kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my friends were European American kids, and some of them were gay. I never even thought about the fact that they were gay.
Yeah.
They were my friends.
Yeah.
And so while I was there, my second year, organized the first African American History Month cultural program on the campus. I have a letter on my wall saying, thanks for coming this way. This college has been forever changed. You're a credit to your race.
Wow.
After doing that, I brought the Teague Polk players from Tennessee State University.
That's amazing.
Oprah Winfrey was one of the students. Her father was my barber.
Yeah.
Went to high school with her.
Wow.
Wow.
I brought the Tennessee State Gospel Choir. Then I brought Dr. Dorothy Brown,
Yeah.
the first African-American female surgeon in the South,
Yep. Yep.
to speak at that school.
Mm-hmm.
That school had never had black scholars there before.
Right.
Then when I joined the college choir, I took them to my church,
Yeah.
one of the largest black churches in Nashville.
Yeah.
So there was an exchange there. And I think that I grew differently and developed this attitude as a civil and human rights activist that there are just as many European American civil and human rights activists as I am.
Mm-hmm.
Heather Hare, for example,
Mm-hmm.
the young lady that was run over
Mm-hmm.
by those Proud Boys in North Carolina,
Right. Right.
she's a civil rights activist and she's a hero.
Right. Right.
And I think it's time that when we look at heroes, we can't only look at the African Americans who played the role. John Brown
yeah.
was a hero.
Yeah.
John Brown tried to bring an end to slavery.
Right. Right.
John F. Kennedy is a hero.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you come in my house, you're going to see a bust of a black man this big.
Right.
You're going to see a bust of Barack and Michelle, and you're
Yeah.
going to see a bust of John F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
And then you're going to see African art all through my house. People
Yeah.
come to my house, see all that African art. I come to your house, I get back and I see this one white man.
Yeah.
John F. Kennedy is an African hero. He fought against social injustice in this country. So we honor all of those. You don't
Yeah.
have to look like me. We
Yeah.
honor you if you stood up against social injustice.
Let me ask you, how old were you when Martin Luther King got shot?
68, 16.
16.
Yeah.
Well, what impact did that have on, your peers?
Well, for me, myself, it pushed me to become an activist.
Okay.
Because I became an activist by the time I got to Tennessee State. First group I joined was the Brothers of Harambe.
Okay.
Okay, we all wearing little Tims and dressing in African clothing, you
Right,
know.
Right.
Okay, so that's a sense of conscience. And I'm at Tennessee State University, predominantly black college.
Right.
Then I became a member of the February 1st movement. This is an anti-imperialist organization.
Okay.
Then I joined Stokely Carmichael, the All-African People Revolutionary Party.
Okay.
And I've been in D.C. with a number of marches, and Nashville is a hub of civil rights because I participated in quite a few marches there. One, the Davis Cup, where we protested South Africa coming to Nashville to play Davis Cup with Vanderbilt. We were not going to let them on the field.
Wow.
So Nashville is quite an interesting town. If you go back and study its history,
Mm-hmm.
it has a long history in the civil rights movement. So growing up in that town, the other thing unique about Nashville that you would love,
Yeah.
people talk about Atlanta, how well the Africans are doing in Atlanta. Come to Nashville.
They doing it.
Let me take you to Palmetto Point,
Okay.
all black,
Yeah.
a neighborhood just like that.
Wow.
Let me take you out here to Verandas. They're off of, I can show you black neighborhoods that look all like that.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity, growing up in a town that's 55% African, 3 major black universities, going to black doctors, lawyers, and the chief, never had to deal with Europeans with any professional stuff
Right.
at that time. So that helped me develop a sense of conscience, sort of like you had in the Caribbean.
Right.
You Africans live in the Caribbean
Yes.
didn't have the same type of oppression that we have here. So you come here with a greater sense of freedom
Yes.
than the typical African American has.
Right.
Many young African Americans today no longer have the shackles on their hands and their feet. The shackles are on their brain.
Right.
Read the book by Niall Magpie called The Chains of
The
Psychological
change of
Slavery.
psychological
I
slavery.
gotta write that down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had quite a full schedule when you were younger, right? And you said that your parents were activists, and then Martin Luther King affected you in a certain way. I mean,
And
and Malcolm, socially, I mean, you did. What did that look like for you? Like, what were you doing with your free time? Did that engulf all of your time? I mean, because for
Well-
young people today, I feel like they don't have a purpose and they're lost and they waste a lot of time.
what it did was push me into leadership. And I had a mother who always encouraged me to try things new. I'll give you an example. I was a Cub Scout in elementary school, going to a segregated school. I learned to type at age 11 in a segregated school.
Mm-hmm.
I was involved in plays in elementary school, segregated school. I won an art contest for drawing birds in the 5th grade. So by the time I got to middle school, I became a 4-H'er.
Mm-hmm.
I won a contest for making a gun rack.
Yeah.
Then when I got to high school, I was part of Inner High. Inner High was where student leadership from each high school was part of a county-wide group that we met once a month.
Right.
Then I was a Boy Scout and became all the way to Life Scout and left there and became an engineer explorer. I was in the choir at my church where we traveled all over singing and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then when I graduated, I joined Bobby Jones Gospel Choir. I used to be called we were called I don't remember the name at the time, but I always remember that group.
Okay.
But my mother made me drop because there were too many young men in their other persuasion, and she's worried they're going to influence me. I'm trying to tell her, when a man is born heterosexual, ain't nothing a homosexual can change that man.
Right.
I love women. But my mother would not let me travel with them. They went to India one year and went to Texas. She said, "You're not going, you're going to college."
Wow.
And I took off and went to Martin College.
Wow. So the Islam Nation didn't have a big impact.
Yes, it did.
It did.
Because in 1965, my father goes to see Sonny Liston's and Muhammad Ali, and he comes back a Muslim.
What?
Your father went to go see them fight and then came back?
Okay, went to Louisville to see the Sonny Liston and Muhammad Ali fight.
Yeah.
And he came back influenced by Malcolm X and became a Muslim.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a house with Islamic father and Christian mother.
Wow.
So has your perspective, have you had any kind of change in thought? I think if you look at certain civil rights activists or figures like Frederick Douglass, his opinions on certain things changed over time, right? Malcolm X, a lot of people say that, especially towards the end, his opinions changed, and you obviously were there at the time. I'm really curious to hear your opinion on Malcolm X as somebody that influenced you, and maybe what happened towards the end of his life.
Well, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King became closer before they died.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they were not that different anyway. Both of them took advantage of the First Amendment right to, you have right to protest and demonstrate, something DeSantis tries to stop, which is stopping democracy.
Mm-hmm.
He has the nerves to criticize young European American, African American kids of the Black Lives Matter movement, but he's not critical of Donald Trump people who protested COVID virus with a gun, a swastika, and a Confederate flag.
Mm-hmm.
That's hypocrisy.
So, Malcolm X, I find this is something that I haven't had a chance to look into. I've read about him. I've watched documentaries. One thing that confuses me about Malcolm X, and I think when you look at Martin Luther King, his view on economics was he was pro-socialism, from what I've read. So I'd be interested to hear your perspective on that. Also, one thing that has confused me with what I've read from Malcolm X, he seemed to be he spoke against capitalism pretty explicitly from the quotes that I've read and the speeches that I've seen him give. But he was definitely all about personal excellence, self-reliance, entrepreneurship. He was pro making the best out of yourself and putting your best self forward and not relying on anybody else. What's your
and I had that same attitude. Malcolm X taught us that we need to stand up and fight for ourselves. And we can't wait for somebody else to do it.
Right.
Malcolm X taught us to embrace our Africanness.
Yeah.
Did you ever meet Dr. Duffus?
I think I have.
Mr. Scholar, Jamaican scholar.
And it's been.
Let me give you an example. Students in Florida Gulf University of South Florida asked me to come and speak on campus.
2017.
African History Month.
Yeah.
And the top of my talk was why Africa's still our home.
Right.
I'm going to speak in Florida Gulf Coast on 27th. That's my talk also.
Beautiful.
Why Africa's still our home. Okay. Kind of lost my point.
That's okay.
But
Malcolm X embracing Africanness.
Yeah. So more and more African Americans have embraced, and Malcolm wasn't the first who did that. Go back and look at Frederick Douglass, that he recognized his Africanness.
Right.
Go back and look at Marcus Garvey, who recognized his Africanness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Europeans have constantly tried to take our Africanness away
Right.
by defining us as colored people.
Right. Let's not leave out Booker T though.
And Booker T. Yeah.
Because
Booker T is my favorite.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm a big Booker T fan. I'm a big Frederick Douglass fan. I've read both.
Yeah.
Well,
Booker T.
6 books between them, I think.
The Booker T. The conflict between him and W.B. Du Bois.
Right.
Mhm.
The boy.
They had some opposing views.
Yeah.
Because if we had left with Booker T, you and I would be doing what we're doing today.
Right.
Atlanta Compromise.
Booker T only thought we should be trained in agricultural mechanical.
Yeah.
W.B. Du Bois said we have rights to liberal arts education.
Right.
Became the first African from Haiti,
Yeah.
came here and got a PhD.
Right.
He's opened at that door.
Yeah.
In Boston, he went to Harvard. I think he was the first black PhD at Harvard, right?
He is the third most popular theorist in sociology.
Yeah.
If you pick up a sociology textbook,
Yeah.
the third most popular theorist is W.B. Du Bois.
I feel like Booker T
Du
doesn't
Bois.
get enough.
Yeah.
Doesn't get enough light. Do you feel that way or no?
No, we
That's
respect
just
a lot of
me.
respect for Booker T.
Yeah.
He opened up a college and everything.
Yeah.
But we realized that Booker T's thinking at the time would have hurt us if we followed only what Booker T did.
Right.
We
Money.
would not have
that
black
way.
doctors and lawyers and energies.
Yeah. We're grateful to him though, because
Yes,
he's
we are.
the reason that Marcus Garvey came here.
And he opened the door for us to get advanced education.
So, what you saying that now? Let's take the listeners into your passion for art, and when did that first grab you to where
Age
you wanted-
17, my
Yeah.
father had a friend that went to Kenya and asked me, do you want me to bring you anything back? And I said, bring me some drums.
Ooh.
I still have those 2 drums today.
Yeah.
Another one of my father's friends is going to Egypt and says, do you want something? I said, bring me some soil from the continent. I still have that sand today.
Wow.
And so I started collecting African art. And then when I moved here, what really pushed me into it was Aboriginal on Sanibel.
Right.
I go out there and I have a piece of my house that I paid $150 for.
Yeah.
That they probably bought in Africa for $35. They're selling it for $900. And I'm critical of them
Yeah.
for going to Africa, buying something from the people for $35 and trying to sell it for $900.
Yeah.
I told my wife we're going to open a gallery downtown and put them out of business.
Yeah.
So in 1999, I opened Into Africa Art Gallery right here on Henry Street.
Yeah.
I'm the second African American to have a business downtown.
Right.
The only reason it didn't survive, we ran into the landlord from hell.
Yeah.
30 days after we fixed the building up, put all that money to open it, we got a roof leak. I called him and asked him to fix the roof leak, and he tells me he's on vacation. I got to wait till he come back in 30 days.
Wow.
When he gets back, he tells me he's not going to fix it. I sick Bruce Strayhorn on him,
Yeah.
and he bowed like this and gave me my money back.
Yeah.
I go back in there again. Months later, it's leaking again.
Mm-hmm.
I have to sue them.
Yeah.
They can't get me out of the building. They set the building on fire and got away with it.
What?
And luckily, by the grace of God,
Yeah.
I had moved all my art to this side since the roof was leaking.
Right.
None of my stuff got damaged. I got all my art out. I was able to bring it home. The problem was he had termites in the building.
Oh.
Termites get in my mask, so I brought them in my house
Oh man.
and had to get my house taken care of.
Yeah.
And I had to sell all my furniture. And the reason I didn't open up downtown again is that rent is $35 a square foot. That's
Right.
right.
Yeah.
I can't see making the money back.
Right.
And we had planned to open another one at retirement.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to do art and mail consignment. Because for well-dressed men who spend money on their clothes, when we grow out of them, we give them away.
Right.
There's nowhere to sell them.
Right.
And in Cleveland, Ohio, there's a mail consignment shop called Executor
Mm-hmm.
that's really popular. I want a copy
Yeah.
and bring it here.
Wow.
Okay. You think you'll ever fully retire, or are you always going to have something going on?
Always something. I had an interview at middle school a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
I was at Hodges last week talking to them about doing adjunct work for them.
Okay.
And I'll be taking a resume there. And then I got like him. This brother's writing. I hadn't been writing. And when I retired, I'm bored. I said, why don't you write?
Yes.
So I wrote this, the first
Yes.
one. This
Yes.
is how we traveled during the 60s and when we had to use the Green Book, and how my parents avoided the racism
Yes.
without knowledge of the Green Book.
Yes.
Then I have letters that I've collected from my students, this thick.
Yeah.
That's going to go into a book called Letters from a Teacher.
Yes.
I called Cornell. I asked him about how did he publish his book to get information, because I'm trying to figure out how to organize these letters. I want you to look at it, give me some ideas.
Yeah.
And then I'm writing another children's book like this one,
Right.
to tell the story of my experience of growing up in a segregated school.
Yeah.
To some extent, it was better than integrated schools,
Yeah.
because most of your teachers were scholars who couldn't get hired at the other schools outside.
Right.
And so they gave their children the best they could give them.
So to the listeners, what Mr. Kimble is talking about, his book is called The Family Summer Vacation, The Kimble Family Summer Vacation, and you definitely can find that on Amazon and
Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble, a few other places.
Can you talk about a Green Book?
Yeah.
Sure. The Green Book, let me just say this. Right after the Civil War came Reconstruction, it should be called Deconstruction. It was a horrible period. Slavery had not ended. Black people were being captured on the street, put in chain gangs, forced to work in private industry, on farms, and in prison. This didn't end until 1942. You got to read a book called Slavery by Another Name.
Yeah.
That talks about that. Right after that period came Jim Crow. Jim Crow created laws that justified segregation, discrimination. That's what CRT is about, the legality of racism.
Right.
We've always justified it legally through laws. And so during that time, the type of jobs that Africans would get was small and in between. They didn't really make a whole lot of money, lived in poverty.
Mm-hmm.
World War I and World War II came.
Yeah.
Those white males went off to work. Jobs opened up. European women took those jobs, and the African and Latinos and Native Americans got jobs they couldn't get before.
Yeah.
It was not safe at the time to travel through public transportation.
Right.
You had to sit in a special car. You get a rash, you couldn't eat in the restroom. You had to sit at the back of the bus. If you traveled at night, you took a chance of being attacked by people. You stopped in the wrong town, sundown town, you were lynched.
Are you talking still back in the 70s?
This is all up to the 60s.
Okay.
The 70s is pretty much over by that time. And Route 66 was a highway, the first highway from Chicago to LA, and it offered a whole lot of things to the travelers that were not applicable to us. So a gentleman developed what they call the Green Book. And the Green Book is a travel guide that told African Americans what restaurants were safe, what gas station was safe, and what towns did not stop in at night.
Right.
So my parents had a stacker with devil eggs and chicken and all kind of stuff. And I always wondered why Mama carried this stacker. I noticed we never went to a restaurant. We always ate at roadside parks and stopped at Native American reservations. And my sister was a lawyer, so somebody ought to tell our story about the fun we had in the summer. I go to my mother and tell her I'm going to write a book about the fun. She said it wasn't fun, it was by design.
Right. Yeah.
We did this to avoid racism. We never traveled at night. We always traveled during the day. And the neat thing about my book, a number of people have written books about the Green Book, but most of their stories are horror stories. I'm telling how we avoided it.
Yeah.
This is all fun.
Yeah.
So you've seen the movie The Green Book, right?
Yes.
I actually didn't understand the first two times that I saw that what the Green Book actually meant.
Right.
You know what I mean? They just kind of glossed over it, and they're going all over the South, and then actually John F. Kennedy kind of saves him at the end, right when he makes a phone call. I'm definitely going to read that because I think it would be very interesting to hear an account of somebody else going through the same exact thing. And how you said in some ways, when you're a kid and you don't realize,
about fun.
Yeah, it was probably really fun, right? Meanwhile, for your parents who had a burden of taking care of you, it might not have been as fun for them with something looming over them the whole time.
And then once we got to St. Louis, we spent time with my father's family. And I don't know if you've been to St. Louis, but St. Louis got museums like Smithsonian, D.C.
Yeah.
We go to all those museums, go to the zoo, go skating and stuff. And then at the end of the week, we hit Route 66, headed to Villa Ridge, Missouri.
Yeah. Stop
at Mermaid Cabin, Six Flags, get off at this road restaurant called The Diamond. I remember we used to go in there. I remember we couldn't even sit in there. My cousin had to remind me that we went to counter and order food, that we couldn't even sit inside. And then we drove to my grandmother's farm, and all my father's brothers and sisters would come and bring their children. And for 2 weeks, maybe 30 people on the farm, sleeping in barns, tents, and everywhere.
Yeah.
So we had that experience every summer.
Growing up in this time when a lot of this was so strong, could you take us to a time when you witnessed your parents going through something that was really upsetting for you guys to see?
Well, my father was a waiter all his life. And then in 1965, in fact, he broke history. He became the first African-American manager at BMW's cafeteria. Okay. This is before Marston's.
Okay, yeah.
He and a guy named Joe Darnell. Mm-hmm. And then later, he became the first African-American manager at Shoney's.
Okay.
And while at Shoney's, some European Americans who worked for him stole money from the place. Now, you know they're going to blame the black person.
Right.
They come to my dad as a manager, blame him and his cousin that he hired.
Wow.
Fired my father. Because my father fought them.
Yeah.
And they found out there was some European American employees that had stole the money. And he eventually was hired back at Shoney's. Now, he went on to become a supervisor at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And he retired as head of food operation at Barnes Hospital, Washington University. We lost him March 14th last year. At 85.
Okay.
So I do remember that struggle.
Wow.
You know, worrying about where money's going to come from, because now Dad's job is in peril because they're accusing him of something that he didn't do.
Yeah. Did you always think you were going to go into psychology?
No, I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought I was going to be a lawyer. My parents shaped me to be a lawyer. Mm-hmm. I've always had the gift of gab. Mm-hmm. I was told in the 3rd and 4th grade, you got the gift of gab. You're going to be a lawyer, a doctor, or a teacher. I was told this back. My grandmother said, you talk so much, you got to become a preacher one day.
Yeah.
And so when my senior year in high school, I did so well in chemistry that my major advisor suggested engineering. That was a great demand. Uh-huh. In fact, she sent me to a science fair at Vanderbilt University. I would never forget the fascination of all that stuff I saw at Vanderbilt. So I get to Martin College and I major in electronic engineering, which is computer science.
Right.
And my oldest son is a computer scientist. Mm-hmm. I didn't have the math background for engineering.
Right.
I told my dad, I'm not doing well, I got to change. He said, you got the gift of gab, we shape you to be a lawyer. Why don't you major in law?
Yeah.
So I changed to political science. I love history, but I can't stand civics courses.
Yeah.
So I took one biology course. It was so unique that way that biology course was taught. Mm-hmm. The professor broke us off into teams and told us to find a body of water.
Yeah.
Analyze that water, find every living organism, identify every mineral in it, and if found amoeba, you automatically get an A. Wow. My group did all of that and got the A. He pulls me aside and said, you're in the wrong field.
Yeah.
You're a science student.
Yeah.
You should become a male nurse. But in 1971, what masculine male was going to become a nurse and have a question of sexuality?
Right.
So I take one course in abnormal psych. I was so impressed with that course, particular visit we took to see children before mainstream. And a little boy ran and jumped up on me, hugged me, and scared me to death. The guy says, you look like his therapist. Hug him and he'll get down. Then I did a paper. We had to make up a condition and how I developed a childhood. So I made up a condition about a boy who had Oedipus complex, in love with his mother. Mm-hmm. And mother made it hard for him to develop a relationship with women. And so students in the dorm found out I was doing it. They helped me. Wow. They suggested that I said a boy is from Oswego, New York.
Yeah.
His name is Johnny Ewing, and he went to Budweiser High School. When I said that, the whole class fell out laughing. I got an A, changed my major to psychology, and stayed the course.
Wow. So your parents were hands-on, right? They gave you direction. They told you, you're going to find a path. You got all these paths that we're going to lay out there for you, but you're going to pick one of these, right?
Well, not like that, but they saw education as a value, and they told us we could do more. And then not only that, I had the opportunity around me of black doctors in India, chiefs who were my parents' friends. Mm-hmm. These were my role models. This is why it's important in a public school system that African and Latino and Native American children have teachers who look like them to identify well. When I was at Oakhammock for 11 years, the principal there was Jennifer Barnes.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I said to her, 65% Latino kids and not one Latino male. Ms. Kimble, why is that important? They need somebody who look like them.
Yeah.
It's not enough that they got me. I stayed on her till she hired 5.
Yeah.
Then I went to her and said 75% minority children and all these European American administrators.
Yeah.
Why not one of them African or Latino?
Right.
And I stayed on them till they hired a Latino woman. She came to me and says, Ms. Kimble, they tell me I'm assistant principal here because of you.
Yeah.
And then I went to her and complained that the kids are learning from a Eurocentric perspective.
Right.
African kids need to learn things about themselves. Latino kids need to learn things about themselves, and we all need to learn about each other
Yeah.
to develop cultural respect.
Right.
So she sent us to cultural relevance training.
Yeah.
I came back to cultural relevance chairman. We honored everybody's month at my school. LGBT, disability,
Yeah.
African American, Native American, Latin American. We honored everybody. And now we got a governor like DeSantis who's committed assault on public education in the state of Florida.
So you just said a lot right there, and I want to tie my own story into it because I think it's important. People talk all the time about being colorblind. You just said something that I think is profound, right? Be colorblind in like people's rights, but I love looking at people that look different than me and have different experiences than me and learning from them and having respect for their culture, right? I think that's very important, right? I'll come out of the closet in the conversation right now. I am a politically right-leaning person.
Okay.
One of the things that you just touched on is the importance of seeing people do certain things that look like you, right? Many people on the political right don't believe in that. They think that's a bunch of crap. I used to think that, and it actually used to
about themselves.
Right. So I used to, when I was younger growing up, I used to get kind of pissed off because I'd say like, dude, I'm working hard. I'm not like coming from a good situation, right? We're all supposed to be the same. We're all supposed to have the same God-given right to do whatever, right? As I got older and I started mentoring kids, mostly in inner cities, that didn't look like me, I can't tell you how apparent it became to me that there was a gap between us that I was never going to be able to bridge. Because it doesn't matter how I see it. They perceive the situation a certain way, right? And the most impactful conversations that I ever had with them was when I brought people that looked like them into the room. Because basically what I've done, I spent a lot of my career promoting architecture, construction, engineering, right, to young people. Okay. Not a lot of representation across the board in any of those industries. And I had 2 girls that actually wanted to be plumbers, right? What young girls want to be plumbers? Ain't nothing wrong with it, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I tell Cornell all the time when we talk to kids, if I was 18 years old in Southwest Florida right now, I would start my own. I'd learn how to become a plumber. I'd start my own plumbing business. I'd be a multimillionaire by the time I'm 25, right? But again, going back to that, how awesome it was that you were able to look around and see people that had, they were doctors, they were lawyers, they were this, they were that. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's important to look at other people's cultures and understand the perspective that they have, and that you didn't grow up in the same situation with them. You don't have the same skin color as them. You don't have the same mind and thought process as them, and you don't understand what they go through. Right.
You use one word that you want to eradicate. There's no such thing as colorblind. To be colorblind is to be color ignorant.
Right.
That suggests that you don't see diversity.
Right.
That's what early Republicans said.
Right.
To suggest I'm not a bigot.
Right.
Then
Exactly.
they turn around and say something just as discriminatory and say, I'm colorblind.
Right.
You cannot be blind to the fact that there are differences between you and I.
And I agree, and that's why I tried to do the
Yeah,
input.
it's not
I don't like that. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, what you
Right.
want to be is culturally aware, not colorblind.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not that you see somebody and you don't see their uniqueness. It's that you're aware of their uniqueness.
Exactly.
And then when you come in contact with them, you have to understand that they may not see things the way you see it. And so if I'm a social cultural psychologist, so I teach that. I wish I had brought some of those letters. In fact, I'll tell you two that's really interesting. It's on my phone because I posted some on Facebook the other day. A student named Lisa Whitten said she met this one professor and they couldn't get along because he was so far to the right that he couldn't see things from other people's perspective. She learned that in life, she's got to learn to get along with people like that.
Yeah.
And figure a way to make that a positive relationship.
Right.
Then she met Dr. Herman. He taught her about symbiotic relationship, how two people can use each other to each other's benefit.
Yeah.
Okay, like we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And it's not wrong to use somebody if they benefit from that relationship.
Right.
Then she talked about meeting Professor Kimble,
Yeah.
her favorite professor.
Yeah.
I taught her that if you get an education and become a professional, you have an obligation to speak up for those who cannot speak up for themselves.
Right.
And guess what she said? And they ain't shut up yet.
Yeah.
Another little boy, elementary school kid, I go to his school and I bring all this African art.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Mr. Kimble, I love those masks.
Yeah.
And that stuff you told us about your culture in Africa, I never heard that stuff before.
Yeah.
I'm going to read more.
Yeah.
Mr. Kimble, I like you. I'm going to make a sculpture of you. And he draws a little picture of a stick man on the side.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be me.
Mm-hmm.
Another student draws a picture of Daffy Duck, and that's on the phone, and says, Mr. Kimble's one kick-ass teacher.
Yeah.
And I got a stack of them like this from students.
I like
The number one theme you're going to read through my book, Letters to a Teacher,
Mm-hmm.
the large number of European American students who came to my class said I came as a bigot, I left here with an open mind.
Yeah.
And I could even tell you about 3 experiences where students told me I was unprofessional.
Right.
I had one European American male tell me that he calls people spick, niggas and stuff, and he was raised that way. And I told him, if you think that behavior is appropriate, that's ignorance with enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Mr. Kimble, you called me ignorant. I said, no, I did not. I said, your behavior
Yeah.
is ignorance with enthusiasm, that you are proud of that stuff.
Right.
I'm going to drop out of your class. I find you unprofessional. We got personality conflict. Maybe you should.
Right.
So he drops out.
Yeah.
I'm in my office one day, and this big old dude standing by my door crying.
Yeah.
I walk past him and ignore him.
Yeah.
Mr. Kimble, I need to talk to you. What do you need to talk to you? What you said about me is true. What is it? I'm a bigot. How'd you come to that conclusion? He goes to Immokalee, to Cinco de Mayo. He and his girlfriend and sees a Mexican and calls him a wetback. The Mexican put out a gun. Let me catch you in Immokalee again.
Oh,
The girlfriend broke up with him. She was sick of it.
Oh, man.
She's dating another guy on campus. He's mad, going to beat the guy up. The students know my door and Dr. Solomon's door are always open.
Right.
So they said, you better go talk to Kimble before you do this. He comes and talk to me. I talked to him about the birds and the bees and all that stuff. Years later, he shows up in my class again, makes an A. Years later, I see him out dating an African woman.
Yeah.
Another situation, an Italian kid in my class tells me I'm unprofessional in my discussion about racism.
Yeah.
He tells me racism exists because I keep talking about it. So he drops out of my class. Then he comes to my office one day and tells me that he's dating Judge Schaefer's granddaughter,
Mm-hmm.
one of the ex-judges here.
Yeah.
Richard Schaefer was a principal at Riverdale,
Right.
his brother's daughter. The brother come home one day, meets the young man, and asks him where he's from. He says, I'm Italian. He told him, my daughter don't date inside-out niggas. This is what an Irish person.
Yeah.
And an Irish person got the nerves to say that to him when they were enslaved like Africans in this country and were not thought much more of than an African.
Right.
Do you know we were worth more than Irish?
Right.
They sold Irish into slavery. We were worth $40,000. They were worth less.
Right.
Okay. And have the nerves to do that. And then last, an Asian kid.
Mm-hmm.
I bet the Italian kid had nice shoes, though, right?
Oh, no. No.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, nice shoe. Yes, he did. He was sharply dressed. He became real close to me after that happened. The Asian kids. I'm talking about the Chinese Exclusionary Act.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the massacre of Chinese wealth right after the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
You heard about all these black massacres?
Mm-hmm.
It happened to the Chinese too.
Mhm.
The research, read it.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And then I'm talking about the internment of the Japanese
Mm-hmm.
during World War II.
Right.
He tells me that I make this stuff that I'm a professor. Dude, they didn't give me this job to make stuff up. I can validate anything I said.
Right.
I'm going to drop out of your class. I find you unprofessional. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Come by my office one day. I need your help. Well, you need my help. I'm unprofessional. Go to guidance counselor.
Yeah.
Mr. Kimble, I go to Scotty's and the lady tell me she don't wait on tight-eyed chinches. Now I'm president of NAACP at the time.
Right.
I said, you want my help? I go to my dean and told him what happened.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to go advocate for the kid. He said, go ahead. It was my planning period. He told me, go right ahead.
Right.
I took the young man to Scotty's, called the manager into the office, told him, I need to talk to you. Put out my card, showed him I was president of NAACP. He turned all red in the face because he knew he was in trouble. I said, that woman right there had the nerves to tell this young man She don't wait on tight-eyed chinches. He said, you want me to fire? I don't care whether you fire. I want her reprimanded, and I want an apology.
Yeah.
He calls her in the room, makes her apologize to her, and suspends her for 3 days.
Yeah.
I was satisfied because our intent is to use diplomacy to solve the problem as opposed to embarrassing them in the news.
Mhm.
We had to do this for Southwest Regional.
Right.
Southwest Regional had been cited for not hiring Africans and Latinos.
Right.
So they're going to go around and bring in 3 Filipinos and figure they can discriminate against them and get away with it.
Right.
Young man married to one of them, European-American male, and notice I don't use the thing white because nobody
I've
looks
noticed.
like Casper the Ghost.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody looks like that. No such thing. Humans didn't come in hues.
Yeah.
They come in shades of brown. You're a
Yeah.
lighter shade than I am.
Yeah.
So, but, it's just interesting how all these things occurred,
Right.
and how people bring about awareness. But anyway, he called me and says, do you help white people?
Yeah.
I said, the NAACP is a national organization. Any American been discriminated against,
Right.
regardless of your ethnicity, can come there. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yes, sir.
Right.
So he comes and brings
Interesting.
3 Filipino girls. It weren't him.
Yeah.
Southwest Regional had them take the nursing exam, and when they didn't pass, took their green card. That's illegal.
Right.
Suspended them for 3 weeks without pay.
Wow.
They don't know how they're going to pay their rent and eat. They come to me. Me and Joe Ballard go there. They have to let us look at public records.
Yeah.
3 women have come from England and flunked the test 3 times.
Right.
Didn't take their green card, nor did they suspend them.
Right.
I saw that and I said, let me tell you, we got a choice.
Yeah.
You can address it or we go to the paper. We'll
Yeah.
make this public.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What do you want to do, Mr. Kimble? The young lady married to the European American male want her job back, her green card back, and back pay. So she got a job back in it. The other 2 girls, they don't want to work for you anymore.
Yeah.
One wants to go to New York. One wants to go to California. You're going to give them the green card, back pay. You're going to pay for her to fly to New York. You're going to pay for her to fly to California.
Right.
That's what happened.
As former president of NAACP, with everything that America called Black Power right now in the movie world and all that, how proud are you guys seeing the work that has been put in now and the awareness that is being brought to America attention?
Well, we have to give credit to one of your homeboys,
Yeah.
Bob Marley,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
who helped raise that sense of conscience about who we are and
Right.
get Africans to embrace themselves. And you and I have done that, working
Yes,
with
sir.
African Network
Yes, sir.
and
Yes, sir.
Cabino's group now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I
Yes,
work
sir.
with the Florida African American Student Association, promoting our culture
Right.
and getting people to understand who we are
Right.
and the fact that we live on this continent, that we haven't forgot that Africa is still our home,
Right. Right. Why you think they were trying to erase some of that history?
It's called stolen legacy, for one. They have been trying to erase our history from the beginning of time.
Mm.
Egypt was a flourishing civilization when Europeans were still living in caves.
Yeah.
The Greeks sent their children to Egypt to learn.
Right.
The Romans sent their children. And then once they learned, they conquered.
Yeah.
And then before they conquered were the Hyksos, the Asians that came in.
Right.
And then later the Arabs, who traveled all across North Africa during the 6th century, enslaving Europeans in Southern Europe, Africans in Northern Africa, and Asians, forcing Bantu women into marriage and castrating Bantu men.
Right.
Now, they influenced Africans that we developed the Moors, which are the black Arabs,
Right.
and the Moors controlled Spain for 800 years. And during that time, that is one of the most peaceful times in the world. Jews, Christians, and Muslims lived together.
Yeah.
Ferdinand Isabel come back to power, rise up, creates the Spanish Inquisition, and run those Jews out of there. Those Jews ran out, looked like me.
Yeah.
They were not your Anastasi Jews that you find today.
Right.
Those Jews today that you see that are in Israel are Europeans.
Yeah.
The original African Jews migrated there and mixed with them, and some of them converted to Judaism.
Right.
If you go to Israel, you still find Jews like me. Farrakhan is in Israel and sees a guy riding on a donkey, all wrapped up in his stuff, and he walks over and asks him, "What's your faith?" He says, "I'm a Jew." And the guy was darker than me,
Yeah.
because these are original Jews.
Right.
And if you understand this history, the whole notion of Judaism came out of Ethiopia.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yes, sir. Moses got kicked out of Egypt for 40 years,
Yeah.
where he learned the word Yahweh
Yeah.
in Ethiopia.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Moses had already been introduced to the notion of one God
Right.
because he was a high priest under Akhenaten,
Yeah.
the father of monotheism.
Yeah.
So what did Moses do? Attempt to find another monotheistic religion as the founder of Judaism. And I understand the Jews often consider Abraham their father, but their father is actually Moses.
Right.
I mean, Abraham is a DNA for his development, but if you talk about other faith, it's Moses.
Yeah. Well, he's later, and then Joshua continued.
Right. And then Christianity grew out of that, and Islam grew out of that.
Yeah.
All three monotheistic religions have their origins from Egypt.
Right. Right.
All three.
So, one thing, and I know we've touched lightly on 2 years that we don't necessarily try to highlight too much on the show. But, for listeners that they have different beliefs, would you say everyone is chasing the same God?
I'm a Unitarian.
Yeah.
One God by many faces, many names.
I like that.
God reveals himself to people of different ethnic and cultural and geographic group where you live.
Yes.
So people see God differently. Let's look at the early Egyptians
who
saw God as Nephthys.
Yeah, yeah.
God was called Amun-Ra.
Yeah.
Christian Jews and Muslims say amen, giving homage to the very first name of God. Don't even know they do that.
Right.
Don't even know why they do that.
Yeah.
But although God was called Amun-Ra, the Egyptians saw many manifestations of that one God.
Right.
Just like the Hindu have many manifestations of one God.
Mm-hmm.
Or tribal people who see the mountain and give it a name, and see the river and give it a name. They're not saying there are many gods. Those are manifestations of one God.
Right. I like that. Now take us into the Kimble family.
The Kimble family, it's we are African Native American.
Yeah.
My great grandfather, John Robert Adams, was the son of a plantation owner in Virginia.
Okay.
Walking through Virginia on the way to Tennessee, he met my grandmother on the trail in which we cried, and married her. She's African Chickasaw.
Okay.
They had 4 children. Of those 4 children came my great grandfather, William Adams.
Yeah.
William Adams married Abby Davis.
Okay.
Abby Davis' father was John Davis, the European doctor, who fathered 4 children by my grandmother. And it wasn't her choice.
It wasn't her choice, huh?
We call it what it is.
Oh, my goodness.
And then she died during childbirth when Abby, my grandmother, was born.
Okay.
And she married William Adams.
Okay.
They had 17 children.
Wow.
Of those 17 children came my grandmother, Catherine Adams.
Yeah.
When Catherine passed, one of the things we did was try to get her registered with the tribe. And I did a tribute to her, citing our African and Native American ancestry. Let me tell you why it's easy to embrace Native American ancestry. Native Americans are African people. Anyway.
Right.
The ones who came across the Bering Strait are Afro-Asiatic because they migrated into Asia and mixed with Asian people. Here. The Indonesians came here. You find the Indonesians have the same DNA as Native Americans. You find the sweet potato there. They had to come here to get it. The oldest tribe in Mexico are the Olmecs.
Yeah.
They got broad nose, big lips, and look like us. They look like they came from Nigeria.
Right.
The oldest civilization found in the Americas was found in Peru.
Yeah.
Settled by people from Egypt and Mesopotamia. Last week I'm looking at...
I think they just found the oldest skeleton. It was like 13,000 years old or something like that.
They found one in Miami that looked like they're from Mesopotamia, Egypt. They haven't solved it yet in the Miami area.
Yeah.
They were showing the Mayans left there and came here. Go to St. Louis, Missouri, to East St. Louis. There's a whole Mayan village and mounds that look like Egypt.
Wow.
And they're all over the United States.
Yeah.
Why do you think they built these mounds that look like pyramids? These are the same people.
Yeah.
We're the same people. And you got to understand the world was once one landmass called Pangaea. I got another book I suggest that you read.
There you go.
The Penguin Atlas of Africa, 42 maps that starts with Africa from Pangaea.
Yeah.
When humans first arrived as Australopithecines, evolved in Cro-Magnons, Neanderthal, and Denisovans, and then the first tribal people, the Fulani and the Bantu, and how they spread all over Africa and began to migrate all into Europe, developing the diversity of people we have today.
Wow.
I need to get a list of all these books.
You're an African too, whether you know it or not.
Right.
I got to get a list of all these books. I try. So I told you that, like, Eileen, right? And I've learned so much in this conversation, and I've become aware, right? And now that I'm aware, I need to go find the end of the road there. I try to read as much as I can. And I think it's important too, like, especially when you disagree with somebody, to try and go out of your way to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I might lean right, but I read Obama's books, Ilhan Omar's books. I could. The list goes on, right? I try to go out of my way to understand. And
right. That's what you should. That's what an intelligent person does.
Yeah.
You're not relying on your own understanding. That's what that meant.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing I'm saying about this governor.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff he's doing is some of the most racist and bizarre stuff.
Yeah.
And he has no shame.
Yeah.
Now, here's the problem I got with your party.
Yeah.
Whoa. I said I was on the right.
Okay,
I didn't say
not party.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take that back.
My honest
Here's
opinion
the
is
problem I got with the
95%
right,
of
shall I say.
politicians
Yeah.
are
Here's the
garbage
problem
anyway.
I got with the right.
Yeah.
We have to, the three of us are talking and respecting each other.
Yes.
And if we had to solve a problem, we would have to negotiate.
Oh, definitely.
And to find a solution, we would have to come up with a consensus.
You gotta come up with
The problem is the right does not want to negotiate, nor do they care about a consensus.
Man. It's not
And
good.
I think that the one half would say the other thing, same thing about
Well,
the
they
other
can.
half.
I don't see how they can say that about us because we have offered a compromise. I'm gonna give you an example right here. You got an image of Robert Lee in Confederate uniform and county commission behind them.
Right.
European Americans should be offended as we are.
Yeah.
How
See,
do you
now I'm on the
celebrate
right, and
something?
I don't think that should be there either.
That's what I'm saying. How do you?
So real quick, we gonna touch more on this, but for time's sake,
Okay.
let's bring it back just a little
Okay,
bit.
bring it back.
I want you to bring the listeners to the current family, your family, the immediate family.
Yeah, I was talking about family. So, after that, my father, my grandmother married Edison Kimble, who's African Cherokee,
Okay.
and they had 7 children.
Okay.
And that's my father. Well, they had 4 children. My father's one of those. And my father married my mother,
Yeah.
who's African Crow.
Okay.
And we had seven children. I'm the oldest of 7.
Okay.
So, and then my parents were conscious enough to not give their kids typical European names such as Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Right.
Their names are James McKinley and Mary Elizabeth,
Yeah.
although Mary is Egyptian.
Okay.
Okay, most folks don't know that. That's Egyptian. Okay. I'm Lodovic Brion.
Say that again.
Lodovic Brion.
Brion. Okay.
As French as it can come. French
Yeah.
Romanian.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I speak a little French. Bonjour, monsieur, enchanté.
All right, sure.
Then a brother behind me is Adonis Cordell, Greek. He lives in
Okay.
Cape Coral. He's a
Okay.
musician.
Okay.
Sister behind is Tarin Manetta.
Ah.
And but she became a housewife. Was a professional model. She stayed there. She could have been on Tyra Banks. She was making $150 an hour in 1975.
Amazing.
Wow.
And gave it up to get married.
Wow.
A brother, Antonio Leander.
Yeah.
He's a draftsman, was in architecture school, didn't finish. And if you see him, he looks so Native American that he can blend into the Latino community. In fact, he lived in California. We called him Pablo because he lived in the Mexican community trying to pass.
Right.
And they Native American. In fact, his last child is by a Native American woman because he looks so Native American.
Yeah.
Then I have a sister who's a corporate lawyer. Behind that is Marissa Levine.
Right.
And then I have a brother that's an artist and in insurance and stuff. That's in painting. That's what he does. His name is Wayne Mandel.
Yeah.
And then the baby sister is Alethea Deity, and she's an occupational therapist.
That's amazing.
And then my father got 2 other children, Crystal and Ronald.
Okay.
I mean, this is as common as can be. Now, Crystal's in computers also, and so is Ronald. Ronald's in California. He's in computers as well. The interesting thing about my mother and father divorced, my father remarried, and Crystal was born.
Yeah.
And Ronald pops up at age 55, knocks on my dad's door and says, "I'm your son."
Wow.
Wow.
Grandkids.
Yeah. I have 3 grandchildren, 2 sons, grandsons, and a granddaughter.
Okay.
One's 13, one's 12, and the little girl will be 11 in April. The little boy who's my son and his wife, he's a computer engineer with Citrix, and one of the top managers.
Yeah.
His wife is an optometrist, just opened a new optometry clinic in Winter Garden called New Vision Care.
Okay.
She had been working for Vision Work. She did her own thing this year.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you know somebody in like every industry. I just have to call him.
And then I have a son that's a hip hop promoter and just got into a podcast like you.
Yeah.
I try to get him to do radio.
Okay.
He's got the voice for it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't do it. He did somebody's podcast, so he started doing his own.
Nice.
There you go.
But he has a business called The Ill Spot and High Ground Production.
Okay.
So let's say you're an artist,
Mhm.
and you come to him and he thinks that you could draw a crowd.
Yeah.
He'll go to a bar, rent the spot for an Ill Spot night.
Okay.
They bring that artist in, they pass flyers over and advertise to pack the place for people to come to see this new artist. The bar makes money, he makes money, they make money.
That's beautiful.
If they like what happened there, they sign with High Ground Production. He gets some exposure other places.
Yeah.
He also goes and sets up the shows for Capoello and all that kind of stuff, sets up the stage,
Mhm.
works the Super Bowl, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Oh man,
Wow.
that is amazing. So now, as our listeners have discovered, you're an author as well. How many books you have out right now?
Only one. This is the first one I published and two others I'm working on.
Beautiful. So there's 2 books to come. Are you going to go back into the school district?
I applied for a job at Varsity Lakes a couple of days ago. Let me tell you what happened. I'm sitting in the house all day reading, and I get a text from Tracy,
Yeah.
a Jewish teacher that I work with. Mr. Kimble, come out of retirement. We need you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, well, tell your principal to call me. He called immediately.
Yeah.
And I
Beautiful.
went for an interview 2 days ago.
Beautiful.
So we'll wait and
Beautiful.
see, we'll see what's happening. But also applying for jobs as an adjunct professor.
Yeah.
I prefer teaching psychology, but special ed is very much related. I love doing special ed too, working with kids that have unique disabilities and helping those kids find themselves.
Right.
And at Okamic,
Yes.
for 11 years, I ran a boys club called From Boys to Men.
Okay.
When they let Dr. Duffer's Scholars Club die,
Right.
I had to create something else. I created For Boys to Men to use the principle of Kwanzaa.
Oh,
I've
beautiful.
taken some of the worst boys and turned them around.
Wow. Now, so where can individuals find Lodovic? What are the platforms?
Well, you can find my book on Barnes & Noble's, Amazon, and iTunes.
Yeah.
To find more about me, you can always find on Facebook because you know one thing, I'm political, so I'm on Facebook publishing. I'm beating up DeSantis every single day. He's out of office.
Yeah.
I'm criticizing. I'm trying to do it in the most professional way
Right.
to
Right.
show
right.
people what the problem is with
Yeah.
him. Here's your Parkinson, how
Yeah.
he's destroyed. To ban books is communist and Nazi. That's
Right,
what they
right,
did in
right.
Nazi Germany and Russia.
Right. Well,
To ban a cultural history,
right.
that is as racist as you can get.
Yeah.
Let me just make this thing. If you ban my history, then why don't I have a right to ban the teaching of European history, particularly when the heroes that you often have me recognize owned slaves? They were not heroes.
Right. Right.
What culture is banned? So as a person I voted for him, and I would vote for him again, what culture do you see? Because I'm aware of books that I know that were banned, and I personally think that they should be banned, the ones that I'm aware of.
You think
Okay.
the Kill a Mockingbird should be banned?
Nope.
No, so that's
You
not.
think the
no,
Prince
no,
of
no.
Rap should be banned?
No.
He banned those.
Okay, so I am unaware of those books being
Yeah.
banned. The ones that I am aware of being banned are ones that have
Yeah.
children under the age of like 10 performing sex acts on adults.
I haven't seen that, and I haven't heard those books. Show me those.
So this is the conversation that never happened.
We've not
Yeah.
seen those.
Yeah.
Right? This
So
is the conversation that
I'm
never happened.
concerned
Yeah.
about them banning the book for Alice Walker.
yeah.
Or
To Kill a
banning.
Mockingbird's a classic.
This is true. This is true. So real quick though, because we got
okay.
2 minutes.
Okay,
We got
2 minutes,
2
all right.
minutes, guys. So I want you guys to know, you can find more about Mr. Kimble on all the platforms. He tell you Facebook. You can go Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all these beautiful spaces, and you never know. You might
You can
hear.
Google my name.
Yeah. Cool. Do Google him. That's a unique name, man. So.
Thank you.
It came right up when I did
And
it.
because
Yeah.
I've done a lot of things in this town.
Yeah,
Did you see
yeah.
about the single member district election paper that I wrote that Nick
Yeah.
was one
I
of the
believe I
part
saw
of?
something.
That's beautiful. So, everyone, there you have it. We have just created a story with Mr. Lodovic Kimble right here at EAS Club in this beautiful space that we call Stories to Create. As for myself and Ike, we want to thank you guys for tuning in, and we look forward to having you guys again in our next episode.
We're gonna keep hanging out. We might hash some stuff out.
Oh, let's
there.
have some lunch together one
Well, there you have it. The host came, the guest came, and the story was created. Thank you to our sponsors, EHAS Inc., Karis Capital, and the Cornell Bunting LLC brand. Go check out the books, courses, and materials at www.cornellbunting.com. Thank you again for listening to the show. Check back again to hear another tale from another unique guest right here at EHAS Club.